Since 1938, Matson celebrating 25 years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus Hyundai, home of the Kona electric vehicle, an electric heart with an SUV soul. Test drive yours today at Cars Plus. McDonald's of Guam, I'm Lovin' It, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on your news leader, GPD SWAT officers apprehend an inmate who escaped from the Department of Corrections on Thursday morning. Kobe Onodera has the story. Plus, in a special media briefing, GMH officials confirmed the governor has been released from the hospital and is advised to take 2 weeks off. Nestor Lecanto has the latest. And things heat up at a special Guam Education Board meeting about the search for new GDOE superintendent. These stories and more right now on KUAM News Primetime.
Hafaday, good evening, everyone. Welcome to KUAM News Primetime. Guahusi Isaiah Uggan, and thank you for joining us. After a day of freedom and dodging law enforcement, detainee Julio Soikin was apprehended this morning by authorities and brought back to the Department of Corrections. KUAM's Kobe Onodera has tonight's top story.
He was a free man for about 24 hours after escaping the Department of Corrections quarantine facility. On Friday morning, law enforcement successfully located and apprehended 26-year-old Julio Soikin.
At approximately 7:50 a.m. this morning, GPD SWAT successfully captured detainee Soikin in the vicinity of Akatnia Boat Basin.
As KUAM News reported, Thursday morning, 2 inmates escaped from the isolation facility around 6:25 a.m. after refusing to take a COVID test. Not long after, 34-year-old TK Umalap was apprehended at 6:49 a.m. by Dairy Mart in Manilao, while Soikin remained unaccounted for. Both detainees were set to go to court for review before escaping.
It all boils down to officer responsibility. And so if you don't lock the gate, if you don't do your checks, if you don't monitor the fence line, those are the critical points that we need to make added. And we do a lot of intensive training on this. It's not like we don't provide the proper training. So that's one of the things. It's officer responsibility.
An internal investigation is being conducted to see if the recent escapes are a result of security personnel being negligent in performing their duties. This marks the 4th prisoner to escape from the isolation facility. To combat the issue, DEPCOR Director Robert Camacho is considering moving it to a more secure location inside the prison. Kobe Onodera for KUAM News.
A man last seen in late May is wanted by the Guam Police Department for questioning related to multiple ongoing criminal investigations. 25-year-old Stephen Michael Solis stands about 5'5" with brown eyes and blonde hair. He was last seen riding a green motorcycle in the Dededo area. GPD is asking the community to contact them at 671-475-8615 or the nearest precinct if you know anything about his whereabouts. Solis is believed to be armed with a black pistol and should not be approached by island residents. Stacks in Hagåtña was broken into on Wednesday around 3 a.m. Surveillance footage reveals the individual searching for valuables to steal. Luckily, they only walked away with the restaurant's phone. Owner Jose D. Assis.
Of course, I was really shocked. It's the first time something like this has ever happened to me personally, ever since I, opened up my own business. But yeah, of course, pretty shocked, but glad that, it could have been worse. From here on out, we're going to take the necessary prevent anything like this from happening again.
Saks wasn't the only ones that were hit. Their next door neighbor vape plug was also broken into. We reached out to Guam Police Department spokesperson Officer Berlin Sevilla for any leads on the suspects and did not hear back as of news time. If you have any information, you can contact your nearest GPD precinct. In other news, Governor Lulian Guerrero was discharged from the Guam Memorial Hospital today. She is expected to make a full recovery from a respiratory ailment through her doctor, as is recommending she spend the next 2 weeks away from work. KUAM's Nestor Lecanto has more.
Making the announcement were Hospital Administrator Lillian Posadas and her attending physician, pulmonologist Dr. Jolene Uggan.
Let you know that the governor has received very aggressive treatment and has made a remarkable recovery.
The governor was given antibiotics for a respiratory infection, but because of standard patient privacy, Dr. Uggan did not provide specific details.
She's on room air. Today, if I allowed her to run, she would have ran. She can fast-paced walk just as fast as she normally walks when she exercises on a daily basis. If I allowed her, she would start working immediately. We are, but I am actually making a very strong recommendation that the governor take at least 2 weeks off.
The 2 weeks off, says Dr. Uggan, does not mean bed rest, just no work, not even telework, so that the governor can focus on her health. The 2-week recovery also means the governor will have to reschedule a major speech.
I am recommending, though, that the State of the Island address be postponed to allow her to do her outpatient follow-up with her team of physicians and for her to make a full recovery.
She was set to deliver the big speech on June 7th. The rescheduling comes just as an announcement was made by the Speaker's office that gubernatorial challenger Congressman Michael Nicholas is now scheduled to deliver his State of the Congress address on June 10th. No word yet on a new date for the governor's address. For KUAM News, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
The governor sent notice to the speaker late this afternoon about rescheduling the State of the Island address due to her recent hospitalization and on the advice of her treating physicians. In the brief message, she wrote that she must postpone until a later date and that she would correspond further when an appropriate date has been identified. What's certain is that the congressional address will now precede the State of the Island speech, not that the other way around. Congressman Michael Nicholas is scheduled to deliver his speech next Friday at 2 p.m. at the Congress Hall. During their weekly COVID briefing, the Department of Public Health and Social Services shared their concerns regarding the recent spike in COVID-19 cases. KUAM's Daniel Perez reports.
The island's COVID-19 cases have seen a recent spike over the past couple of days. Just yesterday, the Joint Information Center reported 106 new cases out of 667 tests. Not only that, but the island also recorded its 364th COVID-related fatality. With the island's COVID cases now above 40 a day and the 7-day rolling average now at 7.5%, residents should take extra precautions to mitigate the spread of the virus. Territorial epidemiologist Dr. Ann Pobutsky.
There has also been an increase in testing in the past week or so. Actually, this all started around mid-May. But we've seen a recent uptick after the holiday weekend. Most recently, we've seen an uptick in those 18 to 39. That's our super spreaders, the 18 to 39 group. They were kind of high back in early May, and then everybody else started to increase. And now the most concerning one was those over 75 had an uptick, but they've gone down, and the 18 to 39 group has gone up, but everybody seems to be going up.
Apart from the recent increase of those hospitalized with the virus, nothing new is going on at the island's hospitals.
Nothing going on in the ICU, and deaths are still sporadic. I know we reported one yesterday, COVID-related deaths. And again, most cases are asymptomatic.
According to Dr. Pobutsky, the recent spike could be attributed to the graduation ceremonies and parties that's been happening the past few weeks, along with the recent Memorial Day gatherings. Another reason for the spike could be that most island residents are forgoing the wearing of masks. Public health encourages the elderly and those with comorbid conditions to continue wearing masks as a precaution to avoid catching the virus. Boosters and vaccines are also highly encouraged for the elderly, children, and those with comorbidities, as it helps in preventing serious complications due to COVID. Daniel Perez reporting for KUAM News.
So to come on Your News Leader, the CNMI Lieutenant Governor is medevac to Hawaii, and later a state funeral is held for former Sinahan Commissioner Ignacio Sablan. These stories and more coming up next on KUAM News Primetime.
And the next pick in the 2022 NBA Draft is Johnny Davis. Let me tell you about Johnny Davis. This kid is special with a capital S. He's an incredible shooting guard.
The toasted cheddar chalupa is back, only at Taco Bell.
Don't need a work break, keep the smile on your face. The moments you can't replace, and I'll be around. Whoa. You can count on me. You can count on me for life.
Wherever life takes you, we're always here for you. Calvo's Insurance. Count on us for life.
Subscribe to our KUAM News Digest, our weekly email newsletter with all kinds of information straight to your inbox. Just subscribe and we'll make sure to keep you informed and entertained with news from the KUAM News team, what to watch on NBC and CBS, and the latest promotions from KUAM Communications. Go to KUAM.com, click on the newsletter tab at the top of the homepage, register, and you're all set. Brought to you by Uno Go, Guam on Demand.
Welcome back to your news leader. CNMI Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios and his wife left Saipan at 5:30 this morning via military medevac to Honolulu, Hawaii. Sources tell KUAM News he is in good spirit and being taken care of by military doctors. On Tuesday, Lieutenant Governor Arnold Palacios fell to the ground mid-testimony at the Superior Court during a hearing for the Attorney General's criminal charges against Governor Ralph Torres. Torres asked the community for prayers at a press conference Friday morning.
That the CNMI pray for Lieutenant Governor's speedy recovery and get him in good health. That's what I would like to ask the community.
According to a statement on social media from his gubernatorial campaign page on May 31st, Palacios, quote, was in court Tuesday morning testifying when a pre-existing back condition was exacerbated, requiring immediate medical attention. The Lieutenant Governor was brought to CHCC as a precautionary measure. Lieutenant Governor Palacios is alert, engaging and talking the whole time while getting attended to, end quote. Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation CEO Esther Munoz says the CNMI and Guam was not able to provide the level of care needed. One CNMI nonprofit is punching back after a Fox News anchor and U.S. Senator attacked their use of Federal American Rescue Plan Act funds on national television. KUAM's Tomas Manglonia has the details.
I watched the video and was just aghast at what was being said about 500 sales.
A lot was said on national television. Fox News anchor Laura Ingraham on her show The Ingraham Angle last week saying Democrats in Congress advocating for more COVID relief have misused funds. In her sharp commentary, she listed NMI nonprofit 500 Sales, who received $50,000 in ARP funds, as one of the organizations whose funding, as she put it, was wasted on for what she described as indigenous canoe building. Her guest, U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, added fuel to the Fox News fire, calling efforts like 500 Sales irrelevant, trivial, and reckless tax dollar spending.
This feeds into a prejudice that's very common in especially conservative parts of the country, that the territories of the U.S. Are parasites, that they're not worthy of, like other Americans, of support from the government. It's just we're always like second-class citizens.
They say the money was not wasted. It was used to retain staff and help build a new maritime industry based on traditional canoes for locals and tourists.
I know that the CNMI and Guam has one of the highest per capita of our people who join the military. I mean, we're very, very, very in support of America.
She has this call to action for the television host and politician.
Well, I would like to invite Laura Ingraham and the senator from Arkansas, I believe, to come out and see what we do and learn more about this part of America, because this is America too. And what we're doing is valuable on so many levels, and I wish that they could see that.
Tomas Manglonia for KUAM News.
In news back here at home on Guam, discussions about the search for a new Guam Department of Education superintendent began Thursday, and it went without any disagreements. Here's the report.
During a special Guam Education Board meeting Thursday, GEB Chair Mark Mendiola suggested establishing a subcommittee for the search of a new GDOE superintendent. This discussion comes after John Fernandez handed in his resignation letter from his role as GDOE superintendent, which will go into effect July 15. As we reported, Fernandez filed his termination of employment letter early May to focus on family matters after leading the island's largest school system for nearly a decade. Mendiola discussed the appointment of a special committee to look for Fernandez's replacement.
So what I'm hoping to do here today is appoint a 7-member panel to do this processing. I am not taking away the role and responsibility of the board to make a decision. What I'm having them do is basically screen and ensure that the criteria is set forth by law. In addition to that, whatever other criteria that the board may set. with respect to the job announcement. Once that is completed, then it would be forward for the board for its interview, the second phase, which would be kind of like an interview, and to basically have a discussion with the candidates, and then of course moving forward the negotiations for the contract.
The special committee will develop the timeline and preferred qualifications for the next head of the island's largest GovGuam agency. Fellow GEB members raised concerns about the proposal.
Once this committee members are selected, for them to sign confidentiality, because before superintendent even typed his official letter to the board, the news was already out in the public. And I'm very disappointed.
Personally, don't think it should be two separate committees. I think we can do it as a body, as a whole, and do the screening. Because if separating it, it doesn't give everybody a flavor of the process it took to choose that superintendent.
Mendiola responded to their questions and suggestions by sharing the goals and objectives of the committee.
What I'm trying to do is get them to do the groundwork in terms of ensuring that the job announcement goes out, the timeline is set, all that stuff, the mechanics. So when it comes to the board and we need to render a decision, the decision will be made based on what's before us.
Mendiola eventually made the motion to stand the subcommittee, which passed.
I'm going to charge them to follow the law, come up with any qualifications that they deem is important at this time, so that we can get a well-rounded candidate.
The special body is expected to meet as early as next week. According to Mendiola, the new superintendent will not be in before Fernandez's departure, which is mid-July.
State funeral services were held today for former Sinahania Commissioner Ignacio Nenetti Sablan. He served as assistant commissioner from 1963 to 1969. He was elected commissioner in 1972 and served 2 terms from January 1973 to June 1980. He then retired to spend more time with family. Legislative Secretary Senator Talina Nelson recounts one of the highlights of his life and career.
Made fundamental contributions to the safety and well-being of the people after Typhoon Karen devastated much of the island in 1962. He helped Sinahania recover by overseeing the building of hundreds of new homes, the modernization of the village roads and sewage systems, and the creation of the community programs.
Former Commissioner Sablan passed away at the age of 81. Stay tuned. Up next, KUAM's Dave Delgado with your roundup of local sports, and still to come, birthday shoutouts. Keep it here to primetime.
Rock-fired shrimp, a flame-crafted favorite. Now back at Panda Express.
Visit Micronesian Mall.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Tickets for next week's FIBA Micronesian Cup Guam 2022 can be purchased at guamtime.net. The Guam women's and men's national team will be joined by national teams from Palau, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, and the Federated States of Micronesia to play 16 total games in 4 days. Games will be played from June 8th through the 11th at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. This event is a FIBA qualifier for the 2023 Pacific Games, and the gold medalists will automatically advance. Representing Team Guam will be Rio Aiken, Joe Blas, Ben Borja, Tomas Calvo, Matt Fegeger, Algerel Grappe, Alshay Grappe, Darren Hechanova, Kyle Husline, Mark Johnson, Mike Sakazaki, and Jamar White. UOG is looking for coaches to lead their women's indoor and beach volleyball teams for the 2022 2023 academic year. UOG Athletics Director Doug Palmer will begin interviews on June 13th and hopefully select a candidate by Friday, June 17th. Candidates should email a cover letter, resume, and names of 3 references by Sunday, June 12th at palmerd@triton.uog.edu. For more information, call Palmer at 735-2862. Only fully completed emailed applications will be accepted and move on to the interview stage. Palmer says the goal is to have a beach volleyball court on campus and to become the leader both in beach and regular volleyball for Guam. Turning over to some baseball news, the Guam Amateur Baseball Academy is hosting their 7th Summer Pony Youth Baseball Skills and Games Academy on June 13th. Academy 1 will be for players ages 8 to 12 years old from June 13th through the 17th at the Triple J Baseball Academy fields located on the Ukadu High School campus. The academy lasts for 5 days from 9 in the morning to 12 in the afternoon at a cost of $50 per player. For more info, contact Bill Bennett at 483-6500 or Mike Soderquist at 858-1238.
KUAM Sports is brought to you by Docomo Pacific. Better together.
Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Wow, thank you so much.
Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Get Dad a new smartphone on HPO with our $55 Live Unlimited plan. And get a $100 The Home Depot e-gift card. New customers can also enjoy a $100 port-in credit. GTA. We start with Dad.
Mobile offers a new and convenient way to fuel your vehicle. Pay gas and go. No need to line up inside the store. Press preset. Enter whole dollar amount without decimals. Press Loyalty ID and enter your mobile number or insert Smiles card. Insert and remove payment card or tap contactless credit card. Begin fueling. And don't forget to grab your receipt. Pay gas and go. It's that easy.
Welcome back. We wrap up tonight's show with your birthday shoutouts. Here's KUAM's Jason Salas.
It's the end of the work week, everybody, but it is most definitely for 24 hours a happy birthday on this Friday, June 3rd, to Faith Ha'ani, Deborah Laura, Shelton Dehilig. Happiest birthday, Faith. You are a blessing, and we love you to eternity. This is coming with extra special love from Mommy, Daddy, Molly Sky, Ten, Candace, Kim, Jordan, and all the family. Happy birthday, Faith. And Hannah Grace, aka Evelyn Rose, happy birthday to you with lots of love coming to you from Mom, Dad, Cookie, Flurry, Shadow, Daisy, and Callie, along with all the feathered creatures. Hey, everybody in the world, creatures, if you have feathers, if you have fur, let's celebrate today's birthday celebrants, all right? Harmony Simana! It's a circle of life, man, so happy birthday to everybody out there.
And it's that time of the week where we announce the winner of a yummy, delicious Cold Stone Creamery birthday cake.
Happy birthday again, and congratulations to Jasia Padilla, who was born on May the 29th. You are the winner of a Cold Stone Creamery ice cream cake. Stay by your phone or have your cell phone near you, or stay on WhatsApp, because we're going to reach out to you in some way, and we'll let you know when you can pick up your prize. Happy birthday again from all of us at KUAM and Cold Stone Creamery.
You can be a part of our Cold Stone Creamery birthday club by checking out KUAM.com. And that's going to do it for us here on Primetime this Friday evening. Guahusi Isaiah again. Thank you for watching. Be safe and good night, Guam and the Marianas.
Half a day, guys, and we're back. Another week, another episode. I know we're switching it up. We're going from beaches, and now we're back into studio. But you know what? It is what it is, man. restrictions are easing up, so might as well let's switch it up and let's change the scenery a bit. So here on the podcast today, I know we've talked about it for a long while, but the scheduling has been crazy. He's busy, I'm kind of busy, so this is finally happening, and I get to sit down and get to know this amazing guy who's doing amazing things here on Guam, and hopefully when the borders open up, I'm pretty sure he wants to travel the rest of Micronesia too. So here with me today, I do have my buddy Farron Tyron. Farron, man, thank you so much for stopping by the show.
Thank you for having me. Enjoying the aircon.
I know. I mean, for you, it's always outdoors for you. There's never a day where you've kind of spent a whole lot of hours indoors. You're always either outside hiking, you're outside, diving and do the cleanups where we'll get to. And just in part of the podcast, so we'll dive deep into what he does with his friends, which is amazing. But when we kick off the podcast here, I always like to let our viewers know and who they're listening to and get to know you. So let's start there. Tell me more about something that maybe not a lot of people know about Farron, or more about you, pretty much.
I guess a funny factoid, and I just have this on standby for occasions like this. I have a YouTube video with 250,000 views.
Wow.
You want to know what it's about?
Wow.
It's a Zori repair tutorial.
What?
So I have a video on YouTube that's just a couple thousand views short, like 240 something thousand views.
That's still something.
Of how to fix a broken Zori. I kid you not. It's hilarious.
That is that is something that you think like not a lot of people would like. Oh, let me just click and watch this. Oh, let's share it a lot. I think that's how you got all that. The sharing, does help with the raising the likes and viewership on posts. So wow. That's something I would watch. That's something cool I would watch. Wow. So what? Let's start off with tell us more about what you do. Maybe not get into the Guam Extreme Cleanup part because we'll get to that later on in the show. But more like I know you're an instructor. I know you take classes at UOG. So let's talk more about that and stuff.
Yeah, sure. I was born and raised here on Guam. Chamorro is Chamorro, as we know, as anyone knows it can be. Let's see. Dad passed away when I was 5 years old, and that, of course, had pretty profound effects on me. So I think it, from a very young age, kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things. So seeing the world in a different way, maybe not in a typical, let's say, innocent way a 5-year-old would, but somebody, I don't want to say more mature, but just some different perspective. And maybe I would have always been that way, even if my dad, stuck around, was able to stick around. But I feel like it made me a little more distant, I would say, from most of my peers, just by the different kind of observations I would have, just seeing, the trauma my family went through with that, and then seeing how my own reaction to it, like not knowing how I'm supposed to feel, how I'm supposed to think, because that's such a strange age for such a big thing to happen. Right. And so I went through that kind of through the rest of my life growing up here on Guam in our public education system. And I actually couldn't swim, and that's part of the reason why. I didn't learn to swim until I was an adult. So my family dealt with a number of deaths, including a cousin of mine, and then that terrified mom. So mom was sufficiently scared of losing anyone else, so I wasn't even allowed in the water unless I could stand in it. But when you're like this tall, that's basically a puddle. And so I grew up, born and raised here, and now I'm back at University of Guam. I'm doing my undergrad in agriculture and life sciences on a scholarship through Dr. Romina King through the Pacific Islands Climate Adaptation Science Center. And I just finished OChem, which was absolutely savage. If anyone ever asks me what the craziest thing I've ever done was, I'm gonna say I would try to get a good grade in OChem.
So you talk about how it all kind of started for you and your love for pretty much for the island and nature itself. And like you said, growing up was you weren't really allowed to get in the water, unless you could stand up in it. So at one point in time in your life where you kind of like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna jump in the water. I'm gonna see what nature has to offer and stuff like that. What point in time in your life did you fall in love with that?
I can tell you exactly when. So when I graduated from high school, my whole family, we moved out to California, and I didn't want to go in the first place. I loved it here. I didn't want to leave, but we went out there. I was out there for 3 years, and I tapped out. I needed to come home. I just belong here, period. So Guam was always calling back to me. And so I came back, I started working at one of the hotels, and I was actually pretty poor in those days. My whole family is still out in the States. So I literally rode a bicycle around. I moved in with my best friend, Felix Santiago, in Manilao, quite close to GCC. And, you know, it wasn't in me to ask for rides every day, twice a day to get to Tumon. I used to work in one of the hotels to get to Tumon and back every day. So I just couldn't do that. I couldn't burden somebody else with my own failures, with what was my responsibility. So I bought a bicycle at Kmart, and I learned how to fix everything on a bicycle, and I rode to Tumon and back every single day, which was really hard. We didn't have Guam Auto Spot in those days, so no one would approve me for a car, even if I had tried.
Wow.
And then, and so, you know, I would show up to work at like 7 in the morning, and I would get off usually at 3:30 in the afternoon. And I didn't know this at the time, but this was a kindness they were doing for me to try to keep me protected. Eventually when I got promoted, I had to be able to work all the shifts, and I would work like 3 p.m. to midnight, or, you know, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. And that's a dangerous time to be out, right?
Right, yeah.
You know, people shouldn't be doing it, but they're drinking and driving. And so I'm lucky nothing serious ever happened to me. But anyway, so I would show up, my usual shift was 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and that's peak heat. So it's really hard to ride home at that time because you get the sun beating down on you.
True.
And then you also have the heat radiating from the asphalt, from the sidewalks. So you're getting like double dose of heat. And so I would just kind of, I would just wait. I would just go sit on the beach and just kind of wait for the heat to die down a little bit before I would ride home. And I would just go sit on the beach because it's a nice place, right? I'm back home. I'm back on Guam. I want to go see that water. So I would sit on the beach, and I can't remember how long it took. I'm going to guess days or a couple of weeks. I'm like, hey, I should, you know, get a mask and snorkel and just kind of frog kick around inside the reef and then just see what's out there. And it's exactly what I did. I went to Kmart, I bought an $8 mask and snorkel. The skirt was like so hard, it's practically cutting into my face.
Yep, it's one of those when you're done, it's just like, you're going to know you just finished snorkeling.
And just from that, you know, I left the nest and I took off. So I'm out there almost every day. I very quickly get pretty decent in the water. We go to fisheye. My first try, I touched bottom at fisheye because I saw a mask and snorkel at the bottom, so I wanted to see what it was, and it turned out to be that. I came up, I thought I was dying on the way up. Honestly, I didn't know what was going on. And then we started hiking all over, and I just went off on it, just trying to explore every corner of the island I could find. And so
wow.
Yeah, that's how it happened for me.
So from there, and then talk about your journey, because you do have your license in scuba, because that's how you get to you use it for most of your cleanups. So let's talk more about how that process went, and before we take a break.
So while I was doing that, I was working at the hotel and getting into free diving. My boss, a guy named Yoshi, he's like, "You need to stop."
Wow.
He's like, "Get your scuba certification, and you can go with me. We'll dive together." And
wow.
I did, and we were great buddies. We were on the boat almost every week or every other week for a long while, and that's how I got into scuba diving. And I eventually rose from beginner scuba diver to a dive master, thanks to Luis Cabral. I think a lot of people know him. He was a teacher for many, many years. And then I just kept up with it, and I ranked up to scuba instructor. And then as soon as it became a possibility for me to become a freediving instructor, I jumped at that. And so I got some professional ratings too, so I could safely and properly teach people to do some of the things I do, and I wasn't planning on this at the time, to what was now I use for my extreme cleanups. My friends and I are extreme cleanups.
That's awesome. And like I said, we're going to get to that coming up next. Guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, wow, what a story. Who would have thought that Farron had this amazing story, this inspiring story behind his life and what literally led him into the water. That's such an inspiring story, bro. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to find out what you guys, how it all started and how it's all going, and then what's next for Guam Extreme Cleanup.
Rock-fired shrimp, a flame-crafted favorite. Now back at Panda Express.
Visit the Agana Shopping Center.
Guam's auto appearance specialist, Elegant Reflections, has been providing the automotive industry with professional detailing and car care products at its highest quality, from complete detailing, full interior detailing, exterior detailing, headlamp restoration, hand washing, seat and carpet shampoo, engine degreasing, undercarriage cleaning, paint sealant, fabric protection, paint oxidation removal, and so much more. Visit us at our new location. Call 646-5555 for an appointment. Elegant Reflections, Guam's auto appearance specialist. Over 20 years of experience.
One Micronesia podcast, another week, another show, and we're still here with the one, the only Farron, or AKA, I don't know why I didn't introduce him like this in the beginning, the Guam guy. I think everybody would know him as the Guam guy. You say Farron, they're like, Farron who? Yeah. So when you say Guam guy, you're like, oh yeah, that guy. That's the guy that, that's literally in the waters, is up hiking, doing documenting wildfires up in our mountains here. Also down to when it comes down into the streams, it's always in the water, cleaning our corals and our reefs. That's amazing. You're doing so much for the island of Guam, and like I said, and I know you're itching for the borders to open to kind of explore the rest of Micronesia, and I know when that opens, I know a lot of opportunities are going to be there for you, my bro. But let's just talk about Guam Extreme Cleanup. How did it all start? Because I know it wasn't just with the group. It started with you and probably a couple friends, and then now it expanded to this whole group that's meeting every weekend to keep Guam clean. But extreme cleanup. This is not your regular Saturday morning cleanup where we're just walking down Ipao or down East Agana picking up cans and stuff. This is the big time cleanup, and these guys are using their certifications in Scuba and drone and everything. That's why it's called extreme cleanup. Yeah. Rock climbing. So let's talk about how it all started.
So last year, 2021 in July, that was a big month for me, not only because it was my birthday, but
probably is because your birthday.
but in that single month, a few major things happened. One was that first oil spill I was in Apra Harbor, and me and my students, we got completely covered in diesel. Wow. And it took a while to get it out. The smell was in my hair literally for weeks. So I was in there. That was the first time I think you guys had me on the show. Yeah. And then also that month, the Marble Cave disaster happened.
That was just...
And so, I was back on the air with you guys with that. And also during that time, I was just sitting at my desk, on my computer. And then the idea just appeared to me. It just came to me, kind of basically fully formed already. Let's do a cliff cleanup with rappelling gear at Oka Point. So if you're local, if you visited Guam, odds are you've been to Oka Point and you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's always a lot of trash there. Mm-hmm. However, it's not exactly a typical cleanup where you can just recruit anybody to go out there, walk around and pick up trash. It's really not safe. So the safety is dramatically increased when you have the proper equipment for it and you have the training and the aptitude for it. And so friends of mine, we just started rock climbing a few months before that.
Nice.
And so just took some beginner lessons, and then that kind of stuff is stuff we like to do anyway, and I'm very confident with my knots and equipment. So we bought a few things of or actually more accurately borrowed a few things so we could just kind of climb on our own. And so there is a synergism of having done cleanups before and getting into rock climbing. I was like, well, we can do those two things together. And we decided to do that at Oka Point. And I think the very first cleanup was just 5 of us.
Wow.
And so then became 10. And then we keep it between 10 and 12 people for safety reasons and for communication, because we have to be able to talk up and down the cliff to each other. And if there's just too many people, it becomes a safety risk, and we can't hear each other or anything like that.
Wow.
And so that was our first kind of official extreme cleanup. And that said, I gotta give credit where it's due. There's a predecessor of an extreme cleanup, and that's the Mauricio Pier project with Will Naden and Ilani Sablan. This will be their 4th year, I think, of them doing it. And so there was some deep-seated, I guess, inspiration from that. Somewhere in the back of my mind, it wasn't at the front of my mind when I thought of cleaning up Oka, but I'm sure there's something kind of neurons and synapses happening, connecting, and it made the idea, I guess, more likely for the Oka Cliff extreme cleanup to happen. So that's how it started. And then so we did that a couple of times, and then we did a Devil's Punch Bowl, because why not? And then And so we'll just keep that going. We have an unusual collection of, I guess, adventurous hobbies and skills, and might as well put them to use. And that said, these are the extreme cleanups, but this is not to put anybody else's cleanup down, but the opposite. If we can climb off cliffs, if we can dive underwater, do these things, the least I guess anybody could do is do regular Saturday cleanups, walk along the beach, walk along the road, do what you can, do whatever it is in your ability to do. We do what's in our ability to do, do whatever you can and what you can do safely, and the island will love you for it, and I'll love you for it.
It's crazy too. Every time you go to these cleanups, we see your stories and everything, and it's so crazy to see that this type of a trash would be lying at this random spot where you like. Question is, how in the world did this get here? So let's talk about some of the types of trash that you've seen during the duration of the cleanup.
Toilet bowls.
Oh wow. Yeah, I think I saw that one. Yeah, I mean, white goods.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, toilet bowls. That always weirds me out. Musical instruments, furniture, car parts. There was this reinforced door. It's basically like a prison door. We pulled out a devil's punch bowl. It was too heavy to carry out on one piece though, so we had to repel in with reciprocating saws.
That is crazy.
To cut it up into at least two pieces, which was much more manageable. Like you said, white goods. So we recently bought a $200 dolly, which is rated for 1,000 pounds. But the big thing that attracted me to it was the size of the tires, the size of the wheels, because we have a lot of white goods in some of the trails and trailheads. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, well, we're just going to off-road dolly this stuff. So our first cleanup at Tanaga Falls, we pulled out a whole bunch of trash, but specifically for that dolly. One refrigerator, 2 deep freezers, and a water heater, and I think that's about a third of the white goods, so we still got to go back and get the rest. Reed Tapasna single-handedly almost filled up a trailer of trash like by himself, and then we just kept filling it up after that. Any other really interesting things we've seen? Those are the most interesting that's standing out right now. Something, it's not interesting piece of trash, but interesting thing about it is glass bottles or cans. Mm-hmm. When they're on the ground or on the cliffside and they're upright, that collects rainwater and other kinds of organic material, mm-hmm. and they grow mold and mildew, and they're just absolutely disgusting. The fermentation of the stuff in there is just horrible. We do have to empty it out though, because if we send it up full, it makes the bag more full, and then that stuff can drip on us, and we don't want that. So we have to empty it right onto the ground where we find it, and it's just nasty, absolutely nasty.
Oh wow. I've done cleanups, and just like you said, your normal cleanup, and we find bottles like that. It is disgusting. So that's crazy. And so let's talk about some of the because you're doing all of this, and at the same time, you're getting so much amazing reactions from the public, and especially on your social media. I know you on your podcast, like say, we'll announce the podcast coming up, or where you can find this podcast. But I know on the podcast, you always, bring up all these reactions from people that are just like out there, not knowing that either these trash exist where you find them, or are just grateful for what you're doing. Talk about some of those reactions.
It's been shocking because it's been overwhelmingly positive. Usually you go on like any Facebook article of any news posting, and there's a lot of there's more important things, or like kind of comments, or there's all like that's it, or there's a lot of like kind of sad or sarcastic, mm-hmm. or just very negative comments. And I found that when I post stuff and with the kinds of things that my friends and I do with our cleanups and everything, it's overwhelmingly positive. A lot of people saying thank you, and it's really nice. It's actually really encouraging that I get to do these things and I get these great responses. There's always a couple of exceptions. I don't remember his name, but some guys like something, you're just a clout chaser.
I mean,
and I'm like, but I don't really take things personally. And so,
I mean, people are out there. There's gonna be those out there who are just gonna be jumping on the boat and be like, oh, okay, crash the party, But I think the most part is you're doing something that not a lot of people are doing. Of course, we talked about your normal cleanup, which is amazing that we do it every single Saturday to keep our islands and our roads and our beaches clean.
It's a mix. It's like more monthly with little bits here and like micro things that me or one or two other people will do. But I guess it's more monthly. But I guess I have been quite active lately, haven't I? It has been about every week.
But I think the thing is, I think for me, watching your videos every single time is not because you're chasing clout. You're literally educating the public of this type of thing. Because if you weren't out there with a GoPro every day, like when you're doing the cleanups and documenting these things, yes, you're doing it and you're going to do the same thing, put it in, you're going to dispose it at whichever company is going to take those white goods, whatever, big extreme trash or whatever. Mayor's office, right? So you could be doing that, but if you're not documenting it, like people won't know, so people are still going to do this. So now with your videos out and telling people like there's trash here, there's trash there, people are like, oh wow, I didn't know that. And then I think at the same time you're also there's this little thing that you're injecting into the brains, like, yo, don't trash. So I think it's something that will literally benefit not only you and your friends but the whole island of Guam.
Yeah, and even with that, I don't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm almost taking it as a compliment. The like clout chaser. I'm like, oh, thanks. You think I'm? You must think I'm doing something worthy of like trying to show that I'm chasing clout for. Yeah, major shout out to the mayor's offices, to Manning Mayor's office, and Alan Mayor's office, Hoggett Mayor's office. We have it. I just stopped by there today actually, but. So there was someone sent me some pictures and video of a bunch of trash that was it looked intentionally dumped on the breakwater at the Agate Marina. And, so I went down to scope it out, and it's already gone. Somebody cleaned it.
Nice.
Somebody did. Somebody else already has done an extreme cleanup. So I'm so excited that that's happened. I want to know who did it.
I mean, it's a ripple effect. Like you started, and then now somebody out there is being inspired to do something about it. So that in itself must feel good.
It really does. Yeah. Yes.
Wow, awesome. Farron, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what's next for Guam Extreme Cleanup, future events and stuff like that. We'll be back.
MTO Maintenance will now completely sanitize your home, office, or business with state-of-the-art commercial sprayers. For over 30 years, MTO Maintenance has been committed to the health and safety of our customers. And now, more than ever, a clean home, office, carpets, and furniture is a necessity to our island. Give us a call today. Stay healthy and stay safe, Guam.
Call 647-6861 for an appointment.
Honey, do you want some milk?
Do you ever wonder how your favorite products make their way into your local stores? Most arrive on state-of-the-art Matson vessels that transport containers of food, household items, equipment, and supplies into the islands every week. Because we know that you depend on us, we work closely with our partners to ensure that our shipments arrive on time, all the time, so you can find your favorite products when you need them. We transport the region's most precious cargo that supports successful businesses and promotes a better quality of life for our families. Matson is proud to have been the hometown shipping carrier for Guam, the CNMI, and Micronesia for the past 25 years, and you can count on us to be here for generations to come.
Get up-to-the-minute news, plus access to alerts, streaming radio, promotions, and more on your mobile device by downloading the KUAM News mobile app, available at the App Store now.
Join Nestor Lacanto for virtual in-depth discussions with the movers and shakers in our community every Wednesday on In Full Zoom. Presented by IT&D and Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Half a day, and we're back. One Micronesia podcast. We're still here with the Guam guy. And so we talked about how it all started for Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew. So let's talk about what's next for you guys. I know you guys have just finished Tinaga Falls. So let's talk about future events, and maybe future events for your friends who are doing stuff that are similar to what you guys are doing.
We finished a cleanup at Tinaga Falls. We got to go back. There's more. Somebody else said they also lost a drone there, so we might have to scuba dive it again. Scuba diving, we hiked in full scuba gear if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, that was cool though.
It was hilarious is what it was. But
it's usually like, he should be going the other way, not up the mountains.
Yeah, something is weird here. So we got to go back. There's still a lot more trash. There's still some more white goods we got to get out. Still more collaborations with the Guam Boonie Stompers on some other hikes and some areas to get to. We have a really cool collaboration coming up with Poksai, the canoe paddling group. And, they have, like I said, they have skills and they have equipment, the canoes themselves. So they have some kind of ability to do things. So I thought of an idea for a cleanup before, and wouldn't you know it, they would be the perfect partners. Nice. And so I'll let them, we'll announce that when that's formed and when that's ready and what exactly that's going to be, but it is definitely going to involve their canoes.
Nice.
I talked with Kevin Nace from the Guam Overhand Club on partnering to do some open cleanups at Oka Point, since he has, he's the professional, he's the instructor. I learned from him, so we can do some cleanups for people that, aside from my immediate friends, if anybody wants to come out and help at Oka Point, they could rent equipment from him, and he can make sure everything is operating safely, and those types of things. What else is coming up? Mariso Pure Project, that's coming up July 3rd. So if you're a scuba diver or free diver, you can come down and help get the trash out of the reef. It's a really, really beautiful thing that happens. There's dozens. One time there's a couple hundred people that came out to just help and give back to our island and give back to our reefs we love and depend on. What else is going on? I can't. You can throw in your,
and then, like I said, we talked about the Guam Guy and the Guam Guy show, the podcast. That in itself is amazing to kind of like break down everything each into different topic. I know you started, your first one was wildfires, and we went from wildfires to the extreme cleanup, and then from that, or maybe there's the drone. Your show is amazing. So let's talk about some of the ideas or people you want to feature, maybe like one or two.
Yeah, sure. So maybe the next episode, if all goes well, I'll feature someone from Guam Fire Rescue and someone from HSC 25. So anytime you see a helicopter searching, rescuing somebody or rescuing hikers or people lost at sea, the helicopter, those guys. So I'll feature one of those guys and someone from Guam Fire Rescue and just have them pick their brains, see if they can provide any tips on, one, not getting lost in the first place, two, what you should have with you to increase your chances of being found, and maybe some of the more common problems that goes wrong where people are in this kind of lost and need to be found situations. So that's one episode. Last episode was about Guam's corals and the reef restoration team. So that's cool. On that flip side, we might have I'll have another episode with Southern Mountain Gear.
Nice.
And getting into hiking and the trails on Guam and doing that safely, and what kind of equipment or apparel gear, shoes, would be good ideas to have, and some of the awesome stuff they do. That's a really cool business. Honestly, oh man, those guys, we've been selling these shirts, right?
I was about to get to the shirts. Go for it.
We've been selling these shirts, trying to raise money for supplies and equipment, because we don't have everything we need, and the more stuff we get, the more things we can do. And these guys, they just wrote us a check for $2,100. And they also donated $900 worth of climbing rope.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's a $3,000 value donation to us, just because they want to support. So that's an incredible local business helping us out and just being absolutely amazing to work with. They gave us a discount on helmets. Yeah, can I just plug the shirt a little bit?
Yeah,
more?
go for it.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I did just mention we got that donation. However, Southern Mountain Gear put up the money to print their shirts. I also put up some personal money to print these blue shirts. So please do continue to buy the shirts so we can make our money back. You can find the Southern Mountain Gear green shirt in their own store. We have the blue Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew shirts at MacTel Tech in a Consumal in Tumon. You can also find it at the local shop in Agania Shopping Center and at GMI Scuba Wholesale in East Agania, across from the Shell gas station.
Awesome. Well, Fern, we're gonna take a break. We'll back for the last part of it, the goodbyes, the last last remarks, and all that. So we'll be back. You're watching the One Micronesia podcast.
I have a phone. I have no TV. Ooh, TV on phone. Get live TV on your phone or any device with DTV Plus from Docomo Pacific. Watch live channels or stream from your favorite apps on any device, all from your home Wi-Fi. No cable lines, no hassle, more savings. All for only $35 a month with your link bundle. DTV Plus, your cable TV on Wi-Fi. Ooh, TV on phone.
The most tempting part of your week is guaranteed to be Subway and Chili's lunchbox hours. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Breeze 93.9 FM. Catch the greatest hits of your lifetime from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and the 2000s while you grub on a mouth-watering Subway footlong sandwich or tantalizing flavors you love from Chili's. Your lunchbox hours brought to you by Subway and Chili's. Watch Mariana's artists, activists, and visionaries and their quest to protect, preserve, and promote our Chamorro culture on The Culture Club, a weekly feature on KUAM News digital platforms and the KUAM News Weekend Edition, brought to you by Tropicool Ice.
The Culture Club, winner of the 2022 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Join us in saluting those making strides and serving in our armed forces every Tuesday on the KUAM News Instagram account. These weekly posts round up profiles of Guamanians receiving accolades in the armed forces, those stationed on Guam making a difference in our community, and veterans being recognized for their service. Presented by Future Smiles Orthodontics. Build a brighter future with a brighter smile.
Half a day, and we're back. One Micronesia podcast. We're still here with Farron. The last part of the podcast. Now, Farron, the last part is where you do a shout out to either the people who follow you and have been grateful and felt inspired by what you're doing. And like you said, you just talked about that agate incident where there was trash and you went and dove and somebody picked it up. So stuff like that. So message to people watching and your followers.
Thank you. Yeah, shout out to Love Guam, Guam Nature Alliance, MCCA, anyone and everyone that's ever picked up a piece of trash on the island, and especially those who continue to do so. Shout out to everyone who likes my videos and leave comments. It really is encouraging to see those things, because I know that I do these weird things, but people, I guess, got my back and people support it. And especially shout out to like random people on the street and in public who say hi and say thank you and stuff like that. It's still kind of strange if I'm being honest, but it really tells me that if you like what I do and what my friends and I do so much that you feel compelled to say hello, like in public, in person to, between the two of us as strangers, then thank you for doing that. It's super encouraging to me. It's super inspiring to me to know that people are resonating, that the messages are resonating, and that people are liking the stuff we're doing. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yeah.
So then before we let you go, where can people go find you? Guam Extreme Cleanup, like I said, you just told them where to find the shirts, so that's cool. Go buy the shirts, support what they're doing. So social media, stuff like that, throw it out. Sure.
I got I guess two main avenues there. So my Instagram, which is at the Guam Guy, all one word, and then also we started another account just for the cleanup. So that is at Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew, also all one word. And then my podcast, I guess you could just Google the Guam Guy Show or the Guam Guy Podcast and it'll come up. It's on YouTube, on my personal channel, on KUAM's channel. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I think another thing I can't remember.
There's that one last one that we don't remember. But anywhere you find your podcast, you can find him. You can type up KUAM Podcast Network. He's there too, or just go straight and look for the Guam Guy Show, and it's there. Wow, Farron, I just gotta say thank you so much for coming on just short notice. But honestly, the talk has been amazing. We learned how it all started for you. What an inspiring! Who would have known that Farron rode his bike from Manilao to Tumon for work and back? You know, like stuff like that we don't hear every day. We barely see people doing that now. And just to hear his story and how he went from that to how he went from a boy who was told not to really get into the water unless he can stand up to jumping in the water. Now he's diving. He's a free dive instructor. That is crazy. How that from knowing how it all started to now you're diving down deep. You know, just to for fun and stuff like that. But at the same time, you turn it into something that not only benefits you but benefits the island of Guam. So Farron, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, there you have it, man. Another episode in the books. One Micronesia podcast. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.